There is no shortage of stunning scenery and distant spots around the world that test the limits of what humans are able to withstand. On the other hand, there are some locations that are so risky and unpredictable that no traveler could ever guarantee their safety. Here are the extreme places on Earth no one should visit. Chernobyl Exclusion Zone, Ukraine. Chernobyl, which was the location of the catastrophic nuclear accident that occurred in 1986, continues to be one of the most hazardous areas on the globe. When reactor number 4 exploded, it blasted large amounts of radiation into the atmosphere and contaminated a region that is now known as the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. This area is approximately 1,000 square miles in size. Radiation levels in the area close to the reactor and in the so-called Red Forest that was decimated by the explosion continue to be thousands of times higher than the acceptable limits. Even brief contact with such a high level of radioactivity can result in acute radiation sickness and raise the chance of developing cancer in the long run. Even while the Ukrainian government strictly regulates tourism, it is still possible to put one's life in danger by going into restricted areas without the appropriate protection. People should avoid independently exploring the Chernobyl area due to the radioactive hazards that are present there. Siberian Permafrost, Russia. Around 1.3 million square miles of Arctic tundra are covered by the Siberian Permafrost, which extends throughout the northern regions of both Russia and Canada. The permafrost stays frozen because temperatures drop below freezing for the majority of the year, but global warming is forcing it to thaw more quickly than it would have otherwise. As a result of this, once frozen plants and animals that have been trapped in the ice for thousands of years are beginning to emerge, along with viruses and bacteria that are unknown to scientific research. This revitalized microbiome presents a number of potential health hazards because pathogens have never before come into contact with human immunity. The permafrost itself is becoming unstable, which increases the possibility of sinkholes and the land collapse without any prior notice. It is already challenging to go through the tundra of Siberia, but the thawing of the permafrost has introduced potentially life-threatening uncertainties, which makes it too dangerous for general tourism or exploration at this time. Mount Everest, Nepal, and Tibet. Hundreds of people make an attempt to scale the highest peak on every continent each year. Even for highly experienced mountaineers, the life-threatening circumstances that climbers face on Everest are a result of the mountain's height of 29,029 feet. The fatality rate on Everest is around 1 death for every 4 people who make it to the summit. This is due to a combination of factors including low oxygen levels, intense cold, high winds, and hazards such as avalanches, rockfalls, and icefalls. There are the frozen remains of hundreds of people who died trying to scale the mountain, and their bodies now serve as terrifying monuments. Above 26,000 feet in the death zone of Everest, where no one can survive for an extended period of time without supplemental oxygen, a mix of altitude sickness, severe weather, and technical climbing problems pushes the human body to its limits. Everest is simply too dangerous to be taken lightly by untrained mountaineers or by those who are unwilling to acknowledge the great chance that it will take their lives. Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. Salar de Uyuni, located in southwest Bolivia, is the largest salt flat in the world and covers more than 4,000 square miles. It looks to be completely level and solid. However, underneath its crust of dried salt is a thin layer that is floating on top of pools of brackish water. It is possible for rainstorms to force the crust to fracture and fall away without any prior warning, turning the surface into a perilous maze of salt water reaching up to one's hips. If you were to become disoriented or stranded under such conditions, you would likely perish from heat exhaustion and dehydration. During the wet season, there is an increased risk of flash flooding, which can turn highways into raging rivers powerful enough to carry away even 4x4 cars. Salar de Uyuni's brittle crust and the possibility of becoming trapped make it too precarious for visitors who are not on guided excursions that have emergency help on standby, despite the fact that the otherworldly landscapes attract tourists seeking photographs. Denali National Park, Alaska. Denali National Park in Alaska has more than 6 million acres of undeveloped wilderness and is home to the tallest mountain in North America. The climate is characterized by extreme cold, fierce winds, and significant snowfall, and wintertime temperatures can drop below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The vast ranges of glaciated mountains and valleys outdoors offer breathtakingly pristine scenery, but they also create hurdles to life-saving efforts. If you do not have proper gear, training, and emergency evacuation plans, it is very probable that you will die if you become lost, injured, or stranded on your own. Since the majority of routes are only open during the summer, the presence of animals such as bears, wolves, and moose presents an additional risk. While it is feasible to take guided trips with skilled operators, independent hiking or backcountry exploration does not have sufficient safety margins. Due to the vastness of the park's roadless terrain and the merciless nature of the Arctic cold, there is little room for error. Lake Natron, Tanzania. Lake Natron is one of the most deadly bodies of water on Earth. It is an alkaline lake that is located in a rural section of Tanzania near the border with Kenya. The adjacent volcanic rocks leach soda ash crystals in quantities of hydroxide, which raises the pH of the lake to caustic levels as high as 12, making it one of the most alkaline sites known. Anything that enters its waters is destroyed by the chemical burns, while the shoreline only hosts a limited variety of species that can withstand the burns. In the absence of urgent medical attention, even minor skin abrasions or contact can result in serious chemical burns, the loss of tissue, and even possible death. When concentrations are at their highest, which they are during dry seasons, the hazards are at their highest. Due to Lake Natron's alkalinity as well as its remote location, there are no close medical services. Therefore, the lake's caustic and sodic waters provide particular dangers that make it inappropriate for casual visitors. Mount Washington, New Hampshire. Mount Washington in New Hampshire, which boasts of having the worst weather in the world, is squarely in the route of warm Gulf Stream winds and frigid Canadian air masses, hence the mountain is subject to violent storms. During the winter, wind speeds commonly exceed 100 miles per hour, and during potentially hazardous white hurricane thunderstorms, those winds can reach reported rates of over 200 miles per hour. In the alpine zone, annual snow accumulations typically exceed 45 feet, and it only takes a few minutes for gullies to become knee-deep in snow. Temperatures below zero cause an ice fog that eliminates all visibility, and blizzards have the potential to cut off visitors for several days. Climbers face hazards such as falling trees, rolling rocks, and spindrift avalanches, and they also have to battle with slippery ledges, loose pathways, and extreme weather that can be unpredictable. Mount Washington is a mountain that poses a minefield of tremendous perils to climbers, with the exception of the most intrepid and experienced winter mountaineers. Jacob's Well, Texas. Jacob's Well is a natural limestone sinkhole that is found deep within the Texas Hill Country to the southwest of Austin. It has a vertical drop of more than 80 feet and then disappears into an underground river channel. The diameter of the aperture is only 10 feet, and within it is a plunge pool filled with water as frigid as glacial water and nourished by aquifers located hundreds of feet below. In order to reach the bottom in a secure manner, ropes and certified scuba divers are necessities. However, below ground there are flooded caverns that create a bewildering maze that is suitable for accidental drownings. There is no room for error when dealing with powerful currents that are passing through narrow channels. There is minimal chance of rescue for panicked swimmers who become trapped in confined flooded tunnels. Because of its deceptively small aperture, darkness, cold temperatures, and potentially lethal underwater maze, Jacob's Well is known as the poster child for cave diving dangers that demand the highest level of skill and prudence in order to live. Antarctica. Antarctica is the continent that best exemplifies harsh polar settings because it is the coldest, highest, windiest, and driest on Earth. The weather is unpredictable, and blizzards can bury buildings and leave people stranded for days at a time. Meanwhile, the average yearly temperature ranges from 0 degrees Fahrenheit by the coast to 80 degrees Fahrenheit inland. The ice landscape and the fact that it is hundreds of miles away from any city add further difficulties to the task of surviving there. Even for experienced Arctic explorers, traversing glacial crevices and sastrugi ridges that have been produced by relentless winds provide a never-ending threat of peril. Due to the short travel seasons in Antarctica, it is likely that medical evacuations during an emergency may not be possible, leaving victims dependent on nearby Antarctic bases. Because there is no search and rescue infrastructure throughout the vast interior of Antarctica, traveling there needs highly developed polar survival abilities and the ability to fend for oneself. The harsh conditions of the environment leave little room for error for expeditions that are either inexperienced or poorly prepared. While each of these extreme places dazzle with their natural splendor, visiting them independently or without proper preparation invites unacceptable risks. Their extreme weather, toxic environments, altitude/caustic challenges, or isolation from infrastructure exceeds safety limits for casual exploration. Only with extensive experience, specialized protective equipment, and emergency evacuation plans should people consider attempting them under strict guidance. Walking into their dangers unprepared practically ensures uncomfortable, if not fatal, outcomes. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.